Meet the man that has bet $1 billion the stock market is going to crash. Michael Schneider reports, would you be willing to bet $1 billion that stock prices are going to collapse? Needless to say, only an extremely small fraction of the population has that much money, and once you have accumulated $1 billion, one would think that you would be extremely determined to protect it, but that's not what Michael Burry is doing. During the financial crisis of 2008, his massive bets against the housing market made him incredibly rich, and now he's making another big short. According to CNN, Burry has bet over $1.6 billion that the stock market is going to crash. Michael Burry, the big short investor who became famous for correctly predicting the epic collapse of the housing market in 2008, has bet more than $1.6 billion on Wall Street crash. Burry is making his bearish bets against S&P 500 and NASDAQ 100, according to Security Exchange Commission filings released Monday. Burry's fund, Skion Asset Management, bought $866 million in put options, that's the right to sell an asset at a particular price, against a fund that tracks the S&P 500, and $739 million to put options against a fund that tracks the NASDAQ 100. Burry is using more than 90% of his portfolio to bet on a market downturn, according to the filings. Does he know something that the rest of us don't? If he's wrong, he will look like a fool, but if he's right, he will be a legend. Without a doubt, the stock market is ripe for a crash. So far in 2023, the S&P is up about 16%, and the NASDAQ is up about 38%. The S&P 500 and NASDAQ 100 have both notched big gains so far this year. They're up nearly 16% and 38% respectively. In the mid-2000s, Burry was famous for placing a wager against the housing market and profited handsomely from the subprime lending crisis and the collapse of numerous major financial entities in 2008. The event was chronicled by Michael Lewis in his bestseller, The Big Short, Inside the Doomsday Machine, and later adapted into a film where Burry was played by Christian Bale. This stock market rally has been happening even though the overall economy has been really struggling. As economic activity has slowed down, demand for trucking services has slumped, and at this point, the Cass Freight Index is down 8.9% on a year-over-year basis. In terms of shipping volume, in the for-hire market, the Cass Freight Index, which is concentrated on trucking but includes rail and other modes of transportation, fell again in July to the worst July since July 2020 and July 2016, which had been in the middle of another freight recession, fat red line in the chart below. Year over year, the index was down 8.9%, and compared to the peak in the cycle in May 2021, it was down 12%. And UPS and FedEx are both reporting that demand for package delivery is way down as well. We've heard similar messages from UPS and FedEx. UPS reported a 9.9% drop in daily package volume for Q2, with June volume down 12.2%. FedEx reported an 18% drop in average daily shipments in its quarter ending May 31st. The economy is really struggling right now, and so the stock market should not be booming, but for the moment the rich are getting richer, while homelessness absolutely explodes all over the nation. The following comes from Zero Hedge. The Biden administration's fight against homelessness is faltering ahead of the 2024 presidential election cycle. A new Wall Street Journal report reveals the number of Americans ending up on the streets is happening at a record rate, despite Bidenomics being touted as the economic savior for the middle class. Every working class folk understands Biden's policies have been absolutely horrendous. 2 years of negative real wages forced many to rack up insurmountable credit card debt during the highest interest rate environment in a generation, while draining personal savings, all to make ends meet, like putting food on the table and paying rent. Compound this with the worst housing affordability period in decades, maybe relief in 2H24 or 25, and it's not hard to understand why the homelessness crisis is beginning to spiral out of control for Democrats. I could go on and on about the dire state of the U.S. economy, but I'm not going to repeat all the statistics I've shared in other articles over the past few weeks. Of course, it's not just the United States that's experiencing an economic slowdown. As Jim Rickards has aptly noted, major economies are falling into the ditch all over the globe right now. It's becoming increasingly apparent that we're looking at a global recession, if not a global financial crisis. These are highly unusual. It's often the case that one or more major economies are in recession, while others display growth and help pull the weak performers out of the ditch. But today we're facing a case where one after the other, all of the major economies are falling into the ditch. So many of the things that we've been warned about for a very long time are starting to happen right in front of our eyes. We're clearly headed for the very big economic trouble, and that should be apparent to everyone at this moment. Michael Burry is planning to make a giant pile of money when the stock market finally crashes, just like it did in 2008. Will he be correct? I don't know, but you certainly cannot accuse him of not putting his money where his mouth is. This is by Michael Snyder. He says about the author, my name is Michael, and my brand new book entitled End Times is now available on Amazon. In addition to my new book, I've written 6 other books that are available on Amazon, including 7-Year Apocalypse, Lost Prophecies of the Future America, The Beginning of the End, and Living a Life That Really Matters, Commissions Earned. When you purchase any of these books, you help to support the work that I'm doing, and one way that you can really help is by sending copies as gifts to family and friends. Time is short, and I need help getting these warnings into the hands of as many people as possible. I've also started a brand new Substack newsletter, and I encourage you to subscribe so you won't miss any of the latest updates. I've published thousands of articles on the Economic Collapse blog, End of the American Dream, and the most important news. And the articles that I publish on those sites are republished on dozens of other prominent websites all over the globe. I always freely and happily allow others to republish my articles on their own websites, but I also ask that they include this About the Author section with each article. The material contained in this article is for general information purposes only, and readers should consult licensed professionals before making any legal, business, financial, or health decisions. I encourage you to follow me on social media, Facebook and Twitter, and any way that you can share these articles with others is definitely a great help. These are such troubled times and people need hope. John 3:16 tells us about the hope that God has given us through Jesus Christ. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish but have everlasting life. If you have not already done so, I strongly urge you to invite Jesus Christ to be your Lord and Savior today. This is by Michael Snyder on the Economic Collapse blog. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Finally, support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.